Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. Today we've got a very, very special discussion for you all because we're talking about a rather controversial game inside of a very controversial collection, a collection in which that has risen Backlog Banter to its current notoriety. And of course, we're talking about Super Mario 3D All-Stars, more specifically, Super Mario Sunshine. The GameCube magnum opus, question mark, exclamation point, as Tucker caresses his copy of the game. We're going to put that down. No more sweet talk in our copies of the game because we're
Yep.
here to deliver the hard and raw truth. Tucker?
The first thing I want to say is I'm not sure who you're quoting with that. The GameCube's magnum opus. I don't think it's you. I don't think
No.
it's anyone you've talked to. I think it's just something you wanted to say to get the clicks to get people interested.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's important to recognize that there are people that have incredibly strong positive feelings about Sunshine, and you will find it on a lot of top GameCube lists. We find
Yeah.
it number one, not always. There's
Yeah.
much better games on the GameCube. Star Fox Assault, for instance. The Wind Waker. But for real, there's people who love this game and hate this game. And unlike a title like 64 or Galaxy or Odyssey, where you'll find split opinions, none are more polarizing than this game.
Yeah. No,
And
nowhere near. I
nowhere.
mean, this one is clearly more controversial. All those other three are top 20 games of all time list contenders. Like this is certainly the odd man out.
It's the odd man out, and I think it's important to remember where we're coming to this discussion from. I had played Sunshine in the past, never beat it. I'd played it extensively with friends, put it off my own copy. I never treated it as tenderly as you did, because for a long time I was not a fan of Sunshine. I really thought the game was kind of fucked. I didn't enjoy it all that much. But going into All Stars, it was the one I was most excited to play, and it's
Yep.
the one that I played about 15 hours of over the course of a weekend.
Yep.
And having played it, I have a thesis on the game, but I'm very excited to hop into it because my thoughts have changed.
Yeah.
But where are you coming to this from? Because I honestly don't even fucking remember if you played this
All
game
right.
before.
Well, let's give a brief synopsis of my experience with Super Mario Sunshine. I played the game one time before I played it on my Nintendo Switch. It was one of my friend's childhood games. My friend Isaac has had Super Mario Sunshine as one of his childhood games. He has his GameCube. He has his copy of it, whatever. One night he comes over to my house and he's like, "All right, we're gonna play Super Mario Sunshine." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So we stick it in my Wii. I get out my GameCube controller. I don't have a save card. I don't have a GameCube save card because I don't have a GameCube. Why would I have a GameCube save card? And then I played for 3 hours, maybe that night. Never touched it again.
Sure.
I hop in on this collection and I blast through it probably 17, 18 hours in under a week, under 5 days, something like that. So it's definitely an interesting experience to have with the game. But coming into it, I was a little hesitant. I wasn't huge on Galaxy. I only played 64 very recently, and I had heard controversial things about Sunshine. But I really like this game, and I do think that they were coming at it from a very similar angle. Is I know your thesis because you've told it to me 5 or 6 times, and I completely agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Can I reiterate for the audience?
Yes, yes.
Because I like a good
Maybe it'll just keep it
soundbite.
between us, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have a discussion based on something we're not going to fucking tell you about. But I can't do that because sometimes I get a good soundbite. Sometimes I come up with something I just like to repeat over and over again, and
Yeah.
this is one of them.
Yes.
85% of Super Mario Sunshine is way better than I remember it being, and 15% is way worse.
Yeah.
And I think that sums up the fact that this is a surprisingly unpolished
Let me recharge
game.
my flood.
Recharge your flood. Oh, of course, a little water. We like to hydrate here at Backlog Banter.
Yep.
Your camelback, it distracts me though, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like the camelback. I don't like the idea of mold getting inside that little fucking tip. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta keep your tip clean.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to say. It's a surprisingly unpolished game. It's a surprisingly janky game, but it's a surprisingly and delightfully creative game.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And obviously I can't come from the same angle as you were saying that you remember, because I haven't played enough of the game to remember those things. But I agree with the fact is that I think 85% of this game is some of my favorite Mario content, and the other 15% just pissed me the fuck off. I'm not gonna beat around any bushes. I'm just putting it right out there.
Of that 15%, 14% of it is Bowser's fucking awful VO. God, I hate Bowser's fucking voice.
Oh, I don't care. I think it's fun. I think it's cartoony. It doesn't bother me.
I mean, it made me feel deeply
I
uncomfortable.
mean, he only shows up in the last cutscene, so it doesn't really even matter. Whatever.
deeply unsettling. But no, that's
Okay.
not actually the problem with the game. Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think I might just want to knock out the 15% first. The complaints that we have. A lot of my complaints about this game are very specific things, like certain areas, certain mechanics, certain levels. That is where I think the game is at its worst in those areas that I played. I didn't 100% the game. I
I
didn't
didn't
deal
either.
with the watermelon thing. I didn't deal with the pachinko machine thing. Like all these things are there's a lot that I haven't experienced that I know people criticize. But as someone who just played through the game, I got probably 80 something blue coins, and I got 50 or wait, how you need 49 to beat the game. And I think I got like 70 stars, but or shines rather. But the ones that I had problems with, I really had problems with.
A lot of the notoriously bad shines are not mandatory to beat the game,
Yeah.
which is nice, but there are a couple
Yes.
that are real motherfuckers to have to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And not there are this is a difficult game. I think that this is exponentially harder than any of the other Mario games in comparison. I don't re-
I don't
uh
agree.
well, the reason I say that is because
Only in those specific sections.
I think on the whole the game asks you to be more deliberate with platforming and it's less handholdy. Galaxy, as much as I love Galaxy, is very handholdy. The
Sure.
moveset's stripped back and more accessible. The gravity mechanic is really engaging, but different in a way that keeps you. It's hard to fuck up in that game.
Sure.
It really does pull you through the experience. Even Odyssey, I think, with Cappy, gives you a lot of wiggle room that you simply don't have in Sunshine. And I don't think this is bad, but I just think it makes it a more challenging game overall. You have to be more deliberate with your movement.
I I guess I just fundamentally disagree with that. The addition of Flood and the freedom that allows you, and I'm not discrediting your perspective on this, but from I've been watching a lot of Super Mario Sunshine retrospectives and
Sure.
reviews and people discussing. I watched King K, is that the guy? Is that the channel?
Great channel.
Yeah,
Great
good
channel.
videos. I watched Some Call Me Johnny's video on it. I watched I've been watching a lot of Sunshine content, and I think that you had a different experience with the game, because I personally feel and agree with the videos that I watched that Flood allows you to be less deliberate, and in a lot of ways makes this one of the easier Mario games. And I completely agree with that. That's the experience that I had. But
I think it comes down to the implementation of Flood because Flood makes basic platforming basically not a challenge at all, for
yeah,
sure. But so instead, Sunshine is more about the sandbox, and I think that the challenges it tailors in the sandbox make aspects of it way more difficult. For instance, if you're riding around on the blooper collecting the coins, that's way more demanding. It's not a game you're going to throw your controller across the room playing. But in contrast to other Mario games, it asks you to engage with the world differently, and I think that opens up more complex challenges than you'd see otherwise.
sure.
Whether that's something like having to be juggling your different nozzles when you're fighting PD Piranha, or like I said, riding on the blooper, or doing I think the most difficult missions, obviously the no flood missions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different approach to design here, which I just think engages the player differently.
Yeah.
And it's part of why I like the game so much. I'm not saying this is a negative at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's actually a point I really enjoyed about the game.
Yeah, so for me, it's a weird balance between the two. I do think that this is one of the easier Mario games, and I very quickly got a hang of the controls and using Flood and belly sliding and using all the different mechanics that come with using Flood. And so all of the sections that weren't floodless or required specific mechanics that weren't really anywhere else, I found very easily, and that is the 85% of the game that I in my head talk about really
Sure.
loving. My main issue with this game, and I'm transitioning into my issues, is the difficulty and consistency. Because this game, they just took a fucking shotgun and they're like, difficulty, bam, just all over the place. There's a lot in the middle. There's also a lot of spread around the sides where it's like, yeah, the blooper surfing that doesn't work great. Oh, Chuckster thing that shouldn't
Fuck the
exist.
Chuckster level.
Slot machines. That's just not fun. It's a waste of time. The Corona Mountain boat. It's just dumb. It's just a lot of these things are frustrating, poorly implemented, and just don't show up again. So they feel like a one-off thing that they didn't have enough time to really flesh out. And I know that's true. This is a shortened development cycle. But it doesn't discount the fact that playing the game, those things can be very frustrating. But on the other hand, the game is outside of those sections, especially the no flood missions, which I didn't really mention, but it's implied. I think the game is very consistent in a lot of ways. And it's that inconsistency that I recognize is a flaw, but the consistency of everything else is the reason why I still love this game a lot, even though I had a couple sections that I was stuck in that just frustrated the shit out of me.
I think it's a testament to the fact that underpinning the entire experience is this idea that they didn't want to make another Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the game is so interesting to play. Like how I said, it challenges you to use Mario's mechanics in the world in different ways. That shows through so clearly when you're carrying fruit around to feed to a Yoshi, you have to find the fruit, or when you have to blooper surf, do all these things. And it's very clear when that creativity got spread a little bit too thin.
Yeah.
And when they try to do things that are a little bit too different, then you end up doing a fucking Chuckster mission where you have to face him at the precise angle. And if you don't have your goddamn protractor out, you're going to get flown off the stage and you're going to have to redo the entire goddamn mission.
And you have to get that stupid ass one up if you don't want to die, like get game over and have to go back and find the level. Because also that Chuckster level is inside of a thing that's kind of hard to get to anyway. So, God, what a weird level. Fuck the Chuckster level. Fuck the Chuckster level. All right.
I actually think that whole area is probably the weakest in the game.
Pianta Village.
Yeah, I like its aesthetic a lot, but I think a lot of
the concept's
cool.
And I like the dual two sides of a coin, you know?
Like when the whole thing's fucking covered in fiery goop and you're supposed to go underneath.
Yeah.
I just ran up a palm tree and spin jumped off the palm tree onto the star because I was not about to fuck with any of that.
I was stuck on that for a while.
I think that's testament to perhaps my biggest issue with the game, but paradoxically also feeds into what I like about it. There are a lot of shines that I got. I'm like, I don't have the first fucking clue how I was actually supposed to do that.
Sure.
I feel like you were saying, they're just these one-off ideas that are thrown at the player without any kind of build-up. So then you have to react to them. There's missions I'm like, well, okay, there's something I know that I'm supposed to be engaging with this thing, but I also know that the way that the geometry of the level is designed, I could just fucking futz my way up over here and figure things out.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it fun in a way that Odyssey is fun, in the way that you're creating your own path through the level. But I think it also speaks to a level of imprecision in the design and the polish that is not characteristic of Nintendo's output.
Yeah.
And that's where most of my flaws come from. It doesn't feel like the game is as deliberate as a lot of the other Mario titles. Yeah.
It's certainly unique in that aspect, and I think that comes with some of its charm, is the fact that it is able to just do these wacky things, and it is certainly the most unique Mario game. It doesn't feel, in all honesty, there's very little Mario content in this game. I mean, it's a platformer, yes, and you see Toad, a few Toads, Peach, Bowser Jr., and Mario. And then I guess Professor Egad, Mario Extended Universe, whatever. But aside from that, everything else on Delfino Isle is unrelated to Mario, like almost entirely. You don't have power-ups. You have the flood nozzles. You have bloopers, which are a Mario thing. Like,
they're not what you think of when you think of blooper.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're like weird bloopers. And even like Petey Piranha, which is now a Mario thing. I think that's where he originated, possibly. Who knows? But
yes, he did.
But
yes.
But the issues I also have with Sunshine, these are larger things that aren't more specific. I do think that the lack of polish and lack of development time leaks into a little bit of other things. I don't particularly like the soundtrack in this game. I think it's very samey. Almost every level remixes the Delfino Isle theme. And then that got a little bit frustrating just because I'm so used to Mario games, each world having their own iconic theme, and being able to, like, off the top of my head, rattle off a bunch of songs that I like. And while I like Delfino, I think that's a great song. It being remixed in half the levels or more, and the rest of them not being very memorable, that's kind of a downside for me. And also, I do think that the dialogue that they tried to have didn't work. You didn't like the voice acting, which didn't bother me, but the audio mixing is also terrible. The characters are very quiet and the music is very loud and you can barely hear what they're saying. I don't know. It's just strange.
Sunshine's presentation is a weird mix of things that really work and things that really don't. And the storytelling I really don't think works at all.
Yeah.
Like the fucking flood fake out death is very strange at the end. It's an interesting example of Nintendo being ambitious with their storytelling, but just not yet having the ability to pull that off.
Yeah.
I think that Galaxy and particularly Odyssey, even though the story is less central to those games,
Yeah.
executes it way better.
Hmm.
Um, in a less off-putting and jarring fucking hazy day, 95-degree blur filter over
Yeah. Yeah.
Bowser
Yeah.
Jr. talking about his mom. It's strange. But one thing you said about the music speaks to something I do agree. I think it could have benefited from more compositions.
Yeah.
But I like the sense of cohesion that Sunshine has.
Of
And I
course.
think that Sunshine, from a world design perspective, is leagues ahead of any other Mario game, including
Sure. Yeah.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is because this is a real world.
Hmm.
Odyssey's kingdoms are really interesting and cool, and they're cohesive, but you can walk to the edge and then there's just a fucking
Yeah.
abyss. Like there's a
Hmm.
cliff and an abyss.
Yeah.
And Galaxy is really creative, but it stitches together things in a way that are fun and otherworldly, but don't feel cohesive,
Yep.
which is that game's appeal and why I think it's so cool. But feeling grounded in the world of Delfino Island is so unique. And even if you're fucking having Yoshi eat a pineapple to jump down a goop pit in a red pipe on top of a building, that shouldn't feel cohesive, but it does.
Yeah.
They do a really nice job carrying visual motifs, audio motifs, just general game feel things between areas to make it feel really great to explore.
Yeah. And I actually think that I'm done crapping on this game on the things that I liked. I don't know if you have any other negative points, but I just want to gush about this game to be 100% honest.
The last thing I want to say is I think that its structure is not the best.
Sure.
I'm not crazy about the episode structure, because I think it implies a sense of progression. It doesn't really feel like it's there. The game feels like it's more open than it actually is.
Yeah.
Like when I play 64, I don't collect a lot of the stars other people do. Like I have a route through the game, and that's just as valid as any other route. Same with Odyssey.
Yes, of course.
But here, the way you're ham-fisted into episodes 1 to 7, always ending and crescendoing with what I feel is a pretty underwhelming and dodgy Shadow Mario chase.
Sure.
I felt like those mechanics were kind of hit or miss. I just didn't. I feel like for a game about freedom of exploration, it felt a little bit hamstrung in that respect. But that'd really be my only other negative.
Yeah. Honestly, I understand that complaint. And as someone who loves Odyssey and really enjoyed 64, I thought that I would be on the same side as you. I honestly didn't have too much of a problem with it. I think that I play through games in a more linear fashion. I know we sort of bounce different sides on this.
Yeah.
This debate all the time, but I didn't have a problem. I liked going through in order. I was gonna do it anyway, and if I got caught on one, you can just go to another world and try other things, get better at the mechanics, and then come back to it later. So I do think it's more open in that respect, and I didn't mind having to do it in order. But of course, it would have been better if you could visit them in any order.
Or if even if they just unlocked at a little bit different times with a little bit of different progression, because pretty
Sure.
early on you get every area opened up to you. And I think there's something fun about making your way through Peach's castle, getting the key for the basement, and then getting to the other areas, getting out to the courtyard and things like that.
Hmm.
I think that maybe even just spacing them out a little bit more would have been helpful. But again, I'm just getting all my negatives out front because I think the rest of this discussion is going to be very, very positive because I think
Yes.
this game is really great. Even though I think you might be surprised where it lands in my ranking. I'll just share at the end.
Okay. Interesting. Well, fine.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Okay. I've got my Super Mario Sunshine game notes pulled up. You know
Game
me.
notes.
My game
Interesting.
notes. All right. I didn't have an issue with the voice acting and the dialogue. I thought that the addition of dialogue, the addition of story, the addition of actual cutscenes, and more visual character personality was absolutely fantastic. I've played Odyssey, I've played a bit of Galaxy, and I've played 64. None of those games have the personality or the character that this game does. And I think that this is one of the game's strongest suits is that Mario's out of place. He's on vacation, but that allows him to be a little more wacky, and the environments and the characters around him to interact in funny ways. And I honestly really enjoyed that personality, which I think also shines through in a lot of the other aspects of this game. The personality to Delfino Isle itself is stronger than, as you were saying, any other Mario game in terms of cohesion, but that is also in the unique color palette that the game has, in the fact that each level is more of a place. It's not a random assortment of platforms or wacky areas. Like, each place has its own story through the progression of the episodes, and they all have a reason to be there. There's a hotel, there's a theme park, there's beaches, there's all these places that would exist in a tropical island. And I think that character and that personality is part of the reason that I ended up being more drawn to this game than I thought I would, because it doesn't feel disconnected. You're not jumping into a painting and suddenly you're small, or you're on a mountain or whatever. You're traveling through a pipe somewhere,
Yeah.
or in a painting, in an M painting, and then you pop out. But aside from that, you can see other levels in the distance. I mean, the music is samey, but it has a sense of cohesion. I don't know. I that's the game's strongest suit, and the reason that I connected to it so much. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think I've said my piece.
What I love so much about it is that even the most creative Mario games rely on the same general tropes. Like, I
Yeah.
really love Shiveria Kingdom, right? That's such an interesting location. But in essence, it is another snow area.
Yes, of
It's a
course.
twist on one, but that's what it is. What this game does is it gives you a hotel, like you said, and it gives you the casino in the hotel, but then you're in the theme park, and then you're in the harbor, up on the
Yes.
ships, and up on
Hmm.
on the coast and everything. There's so many interesting things that feel as though they belong in the world while still being so fun and fresh to explore.
Yeah.
The levels are designed not only incredibly well to be jungle gyms for Mario that are
Yes.
really engaging to platform through, but they're engaging aesthetically without ever breaking the sense of place that this game even has, even for as fucking weird as it is. I don't question when I'm told by the old man that there's a fucking Monty Mole who has a military installation on top of a cork, because the game is zany, but it believes in its own zaniness, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Hmm.
It really believes that there's a reason for that Monty Mole to have a fucking cannon set up on top of a cork plugging up the ocean. I think that makes the game so charming.
Yeah. And actually, this goes to something we haven't really talked about Mario 64 on this channel yet. We might at some point. I don't know what your
Yeah.
recent experiences with it, but Mario 64 is a fantastic game. I liked it a lot more than I thought it would. But I do think that the disconnect between the world and the levels is something that kind of frustrated me. And Sunshine obviously completely eliminated that. And maybe coming just off of 64 in where I had that complaint into Sunshine, which does a 180 on that, might be part of the reason why I ended up enjoying it so much for that aspect. But it's interesting to see them go essentially an opposite design philosophy from the game to its sequel.
I think the thing about it is I always give Crash Bandicoot shit, period, but I give Crash Bandicoot a lot of shit for wanting to be a 2D platformer and taking the 2D platformer design philosophy into 3D.
Yeah,
In a lot of ways, Mario 64 does that too, but it just does it in a more organic feeling nature.
sure.
You still have an overarching hub, and then you go into levels that feel disconnected, and they're about solving a singular challenge. And there's a level
Hmm.
of immersion or visual fidelity there, but it's really about the gameplay, and it's about having a platforming challenge.
Yeah, of course.
Sunshine is more about giving you a world and contextualizing it as a platformer.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's one of the big differences between the two, and why this game feels so fun, and why it still feels unique, because I really don't think any Mario game since has recaptured that.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I'm not as experienced in Mario games as you are. I've played some of probably almost all of the games, but
Yeah.
I'm looking back on this game in a way that I don't think that it deserves a lot of the hate that it gets. I mean, we've talked about the problems we have with it, but I think overall this game is so unique as a Mario game, and just as a platformer in terms of Flood is very creative. I loved using Flood. I honestly didn't mind any of the nozzles. I thought that integrating it into my move set and swapping between shooting Flood forward, diving onto it. You can do a long jump out of that, or you can dive in your belly, just do it, or do a longer jump off of that. You can do a jump in the air and then turn your thing into a jetpack and use that momentum. There's such a sense of freedom when using this incredibly unique mechanic that I think that this game deserves a lot more praise. And I honestly wouldn't say no to a Sunshine 2. I think that could be really fucking cool.
That's not, people talk a lot. Do you want a Sunshine remake or do you want a Sunshine sequel? For me, I don't think I want either, actually. I think Sunshine stands as a nice little chapter on its own. And I agree that it doesn't deserve all of the hate that it gets. I think it deserves a lot of it. Because it's a victim, rightfully so, of comparison.
Sure. Yeah.
Because Mario not only exudes this creativity, because Mario has not become any less creative than in Sunshine. It's just been expressed differently.
Yeah.
So when that level of creativity persists, but it's presented in a more polished package or in a package that's a little bit more confident in executing upon its own ideas, by comparison, I think Sunshine loses something.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think it's Sunshine's quirkiness and the fact that it doesn't hit every note that makes it so much more interesting to play and talk about than a lot of Nintendo's other games.
Yeah.
But because of that, I think I like the game being a little pocket of history. And I like the idea that Koizumi did what he did with Odyssey, and now he could go do something else completely different and give us another flavor on Mario.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Mario is best when he's moving. He's not moving just linearly. And I'm not talking about game design. I'm talking about overarching idea of ideas between franchises. And my sentence is fucked up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want this game to be revisited. I want it to be, this is one chapter. What's next?
Sure. I respect that idea, and I think it's a quaint little notion, but I wholeheartedly disagree, because I think my experience with Sunshine, going into it being pretty skeptical, to be honest, and having such a great time with it, I think that the issues that Sunshine has come almost entirely from the lack of polish that comes from it having a gimped development cycle. I think that the world design, the concept of flood, and everything that it tries to do in terms of its creativity I don't think there's a downside to having a Sunshine 2 that has a better development cycle, has more modern controls, and is able to polish out all of the issues it had. Flesh out Flood, give you more nozzles, more worlds, more areas to explore that keep that same consistency of Delfino Isle with being able to see the levels in the background and being contextualized in the location. I think that creativity could be carried so much further in a modern sense with more development that it could end up being one of the best Mario games if they were to go that way, which is never going to happen. But that's just something that, hey, coming off of Sunshine as a fresh new fan, I would really love this to be revisited, because I think there's so much potential, and I don't think it deserves so much of the hate, that the hate it gets is easily ironed out with some sort of revisit to the formula, whether that be a remake or a sequel.
I think what I would like is to take the things that Sunshine does uniquely and apply them in a new context.
Sure.
So give us a completely new suite of characters that informs a lot of. You got to keep in mind, a lot of the characters introduced in Sunshine informed all of the spin-off games for the GameCube generation, visually.
Yeah. Oh shit, we're on a thing.
We'll wait one more.
Yeah.
I'm not talking, by the way. Because I want you to hear this point.
Yeah, of course. Good. Are we going? Yep, there we go. All right. Technical difficulty. Beep boop beep boop beep boop beep. Okay. All right.
There we go. So what I was saying was I want to remember the way that Sunshine informed the rosters of a Mario Baseball and all of the spin-off titles, and informed the locations in places like Mario Kart, and really shaped the identity of Mario.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a testament to the fact that Sunshine's biggest strength is its cohesion.
Okay, my Wi-Fi is completely fine right now. I don't know what just happened to you.
Okay.
That's odd. Whatever. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I want the underlying tenets of Sunshine to be carried over, but perhaps not Sunshine in its totality into a sequel.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. One last thing I want to talk about in this game is something that I personally wasn't expecting. Coming off of 64 and hearing more negative things about Sunshine is the fact that this game has a lot to explore in. Like I coming off of 64, which I do think is pretty linear, all things considered. I mean, you have to go through certain challenges to get there, unless you're a god at the game. But Sunshine has these blue coins. I like the blue coins. We're gonna put that out there. I like the library in Halo, and I like the blue coins. All right. I don't care if this screws over my reputability, but is that a fucking word? Who even knows? But but
Reputation?
yeah, whatever. I've heard that one. But the blue coins, I do think if you're not going for all of them, are a very cool mechanic that I think helped me connect to the world a lot more. I am the guy who sees something shiny in the distance. It's like, ooh, let's try that. Let's explore the level a little more. Let's see what kind of shit I can get up to in order to find out what's on top of that building that looks kind of intriguing. And that combined with the fact that there are in the levels and in Delfino Isle, Plaza rather, there are secret pipes. There's the things where you can go underground. There's like the shadow version of you going around. You can find blue coins down there. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to this game that I really was not expecting. And I think that's another reason why I got into it so much. I mean, I played 8 hours of this game a day for like 3 or 4 days straight. I
Yeah.
really, really like this game. And I think that might be a detriment if you're going for 100% completion, but as someone who just played through the game, it really, really was fun for me, and it helped me to get into the world a lot more.
So I don't really like the blue coins particularly because I'm disappointed at the fact there's really no tangible reward or justification to collect them.
Yeah, and that's very reasonable.
But I don't think that takes away from the fact that this game as a whole is just fun to explore for your own edification. I love the idea of the hub world. I love hubs in Mario games. I wish that Odyssey had one. And I think that Delfino Plaza is the very best.
Yep.
I think it's so much fun the way not only exits or entrances to levels are hidden in the world, but just the way that it's cool to slide on your belly through the water. You do the fucking squirt and slide, as I like to say. The old Abram Beaner special, but it's just a really engaging location to hang out in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just adds an extra level of fun. And I really hope that the hub world returns. That's one of my main hopes for whatever happens next for 3D Mario.
Yeah, that would be great.
I want to mention one thing we haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
One thing that I think stands incontestably head and shoulders above any other Mario game in Sunshine, which are the boss fights. Which fucking
they're great. I have that on. That's the third thing on here. I sort of talk about everything else. Oh, also the water visuals, fantastic. But we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Where are we going? Who boss fights water? Who cares?
No, we're just talking about water first. We're talking about water.
Fuck it.
We're talking about water. One of my favorite shines in the entire game are the 8 red coins in the coral reef.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And because of the game's water fidelity is so fucking far beyond anything else.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it looks so amazing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And the water physics, I mean, of the waves going by, there's not a lot of levels that have waves in it, which I think is unfortunate. And I wish there was a level that was more based around waves. That would be really cool. But they're great. It doesn't make any sense, but it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, and that especially plays into the color palette of this game that I enjoy so much. It's very soft in its paleting, but the water especially is just, it's sparkly, it's clean. I mean, Bubblaine clearly took influence, and I think that both of them are very strong in terms of their visual design. But this came 20 years before it, and it's still just as impressive.
Yeah. Boss fights.
Yeah.
I will say the final Bowser boss fight's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah,
in
it's
comparison.
Not fantastic.
But fighting Petey Piranha, filling his fucking belly up with water, then hitting his big old belly button.
Yeah.
Or fighting King Boo. They're just really creative.
The King Boo one, I didn't have as big of a problem with as I know other people do, but there's so many new mechanics introduced just for that boss fight that I don't think are super well handled. and the element of randomization makes it feel like you're not in control in a way that's not fun. I had such a good time with that big Wiggler fight on the beach and
Big Wiggle is
fighting
great.
PD Piranha, and I even really like the big blooper ones where you grab his thing and snap it and fucking grab his mouth and shoot him off fucking Team Rocket style. But the Bowser one I didn't have as big of an issue with, but I don't think the King Boo fight is actually that great.
What I like about the King Boo fight is that I enjoy that it takes some more random elements of the casino and puts them, I think, in a more manageable context.
Oh, sure. It's
I
certainly
like,
better than the casino. I'll
yeah,
give you that.
I really like the idea of King Boo running this big fucking slot machine. I think there's something fun about throwing the tamales into his mouth and then throwing the other fruit at him. Sure, it also, it's not an incredibly long fight, so if you get a cycle where you don't get what you want, I think it just raises the intensity a little bit.
Sure.
The random elements are not great, but I just really like I really like it conceptually. And even when I got a pull on the handle that wasn't fucking fruit, I didn't think that took away from the fact that I was really engaged by being on this huge roulette wheel. I liked how
Yeah.
surrealist it was.
It's cool. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the concepts of it, and as I said, I don't have a huge problem with it, but I do personally think it's the weakest boss fight in the game, but all comes down to personal preference.
Also, can we talk really quickly about how the fact that the Shadow Manta and Sandbird are not as hard as people say?
Oh, no, they're really not. Sandbird, I don't know, maybe 4 tries for me, but people complain about that so much. It's not that bad. Come on,
I
guys.
used to think it was really I used to get furious playing that level, but I played it again. And it probably took me a couple tries, and the Shadow Manta level is not hard at all.
No, I think I probably did that one three tries, maybe 2 tries. I don't know, but it's definitely overwhelming at first. I'll certainly give it that, but I do think that once you understand the mechanic, it's very different visually, and I think that it allows you to use the hovering mechanic in an entirely different way that I think I honestly wish was implemented more. But I had a good time with that one.
Once you understand, you can just sit on the fucking shoreline and just shoot them all, and they'll come to you. It becomes very simple.
Didn't do that. What else we got? Got any other points? I think I'm running dry like flood.
Do you want to hear where it fits in my 3D Mario ranking?
Oh, sure. Yeah, why not?
I was talking about this on Twitter quite extensively.
Okay.
You
tweet a lot. I see a lot of your tweets, but I might not have seen this one.
I tweet a lot.
Yeah.
But I was talking with some people as I was playing. I was like, you know what? I'm really enjoying this game more. I think this might be my second favorite 3D Mario.
Oh wow. Okay.
Having finished it now, having reflected on it, it's my fourth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
that was not as surprising of a revelation as I was. Because guess what? Actually, no. Yeah. Give your explanation first. I'll go into mine.
Just to fill in the audience, that's Galaxy, my third favorite game of all time, Odyssey, 3D World, and then this game, Sunshine. Okay. Those are my top 4 Mario games. And the reason I hit at it earlier, but I didn't really bore into it. I think the games above it have visions that they execute on completely.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I have flaws with all of those games, they're really confident in their implementation of new ideas and their creative endeavors and their polish overall. And if Sunshine was able to be as confident as those games, then I think it would have hit number 2. But as I reflected more on it, I just really found myself in some ways let down by its shortcomings in comparison to the other games. But that doesn't change the fact that this game is easily, in my top 50 of all time now.
Yeah. I also added it to I think it might be in my top 50 as well. Yeah. But I have something very interesting to tell you. Thinking about your ranking and thinking about my current, while I haven't played to completion all of the games that you have, I want you to guess out of 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, 3D World, and Odyssey, where does it fit in my top 5? Haven't played 3D Land at all, or Galaxy 2. And I didn't beat Galaxy or 3D World.
Well, okay, so here's the thing for people following along at home. Card in the corner, Tucker fucking loves Super Mario Odyssey.
It's true. Card in the corner to our top 100 thing?
Yeah, I guess so, sure. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Put a card in the corner, something random if you want, I don't care. But it's not going to top Odyssey. I'm going to say it's number 2.
Good job. Ding, ding, ding. Fucking hit the nail on the head. All right.
There we go.
Top 5. No, I almost did it. Odyssey, Sunshine, 64, 3D World, Galaxy.
Sure.
Yep. And once I play through Galaxy, that could totally be upended, but as of now, that's where it stands.
There you go.
I think that proves that I like Sunshine quite a bit because I had a great time with 64. And Sunshine just kind of took what I enjoyed about 64, flipped it on its head, and made me much more engaged. But, it's all up to personal preference.
So Sunshine versus Mario Picross, where do you fall?
I think that's a debate for an entirely other day.
I'd like to let the audience know. Let's see right now. I've got my Switch open right now. You have 25 hours played, or 25 hours or more on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes.
Would it be safe to say that probably at this point 10 of those are Mario's Picross?
No. I think I've played 6 hours of that game, maybe.
Because I get nervous because Tucker will be Discord calling, or you'll just fucking be like, "Hey, I was playing 18 hours of Mario's Picross." I'm like, "What are you doing with your time?"
Yeah, I like
very
Picross.
nervous.
I like Picross.
Makes me very nervous.
Okay, well, I think that about does it for this discussion. Thank you very much for having this. Was a great review. Honestly, I've been waiting
Yeah.
to rip apart Mario Sunshine and analyze each of its facets, and I had a great time doing it. I'm up for 64 and Galaxy at some point. Who cares about the relevancy of this baby? But I think that'd be fun for you and I to discuss them.
Yeah, sure. We'll need to talk about Mario 35 at some point.
True. All right. Well, there's a lot of content coming up.
We also need to talk about Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics.
I'll do it. I will.
And folks, stay tuned for our Pokemon Home review coming in the next few days.
God damn it. All right. See you guys in another video.
Bye-bye. Let me also take a sip of water before we begin. It's on the other side of the room.
Like flood.
I don't think that needed to happen.
All right. Yes. Yes.
And I want to make the thumbnail for this one.
Oh, fucking go for it. I've done the last few game review ones, so.
I have a really nefarious idea that I'm super excited about.
Will I be flood? Most likely.
Can you send me a picture with your mouth open?
As soon as you said that, I'm like, there's only one thing that this could be.